Thank you for joining us today for EarthEcho's STEMExplore virtual field trip, Solving Water Because Every Drop Counts, featuring Patricia Delcourt of Xylem, Inc. My name is Casey Gaylord-Opaleski, and I am the STEMExplore coordinator at EarthEcho International. We're so excited to have students from all over the globe joining us as we learn about STEM careers. This live event is part of STEMExplore, EarthEcho's newest program that is taking inspiration to access by telling the stories of dynamic women in STEM careers during live virtual field trips, just like this one. We're excited to bring STEMExplore to life thanks to support from our presenting sponsor, United Technologies. You can explore a number of STEM careers as well as tune in for upcoming live events like this one at EarthEcho's STEMExplore website, STEMexplore.org. I'd like to recognize and thank STEMExplore's 5 partner sites across the country: Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clarita Valley, Youth Power 365, Mech Ed, Love a Sea Turtle, and YWCA. Now, I especially want to thank those partners that are joining us live today. So I would like to recognize those sites by getting a nice little hello. Now we have 2 sites joining us from our friends at Love a Sea Turtle in North Carolina. And both of these sites are at D.H. Conley High School. So let's head over to Ms. Keeter's room at D.H. Conley in Greenville, North Carolina. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? And let's head on over to our other friends at D.H. Conley High School in Greenville, North Carolina, Ms. Wright's class. Hello, everyone out there. Yeah, Ms. Wright's class. Hello, wonderful to see you all. So we love participation from all of you watching as well on our live streams. If you are watching us on YouTube live, you can simply use the chat, which should be to the right of your viewer or directly below that viewing screen. If you're watching on STEMexplore.org, simply click where it says submit questions at the top. Now we do apologize, we're having a little glitch. So it says submit questions to another STEMexplore mentor, but you would in fact be submitting questions to Patricia Delcourt. So just go ahead and click on that and it will get you there. Now, what I would also like to do is introduce somebody else who's joining us tonight. We have a co-host that's very excited to join us, and we have somebody visiting from Tampa, Florida, Olivia Blondheim. Hello, Olivia.
Hi, Casey. It's great to be here. My name is Olivia, and I'm a PhD student at the University of South Florida. I'm also a member of EarthEcho International's Youth Leadership Council, and I'm going to be helping to co-host today's virtual field trip.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Olivia. It's so great to have you here with us. All right, everyone. So that's it for other introductions. Let's get started with today's virtual field trip, and let us introduce today's STEMExplore mentor, Patricia Delcourt. She is a mechanical engineer with Xylem. Hello, Patricia. How are you doing today?
Hey, Casey. Thanks for the introduction. I'm so happy to be here with everyone.
Excellent. We're so excited to have you. Where are you coming up to us live from, Patricia?
I'm currently at home from Rolling Meadows, which is a suburb of Chicago.
All right, perfect. Wonderful to have you. So Patricia, to get us started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe about your background, where you grew up, and what got you interested in becoming an engineer?
Sure. So as you already know, my name is Patricia Delcourt. I'm 27 years old. I'm actually originally from Poland, and I moved to the US with my parents and my brother right before starting 7th grade. So I'm from a medium town just south of Krakow, very close to the Slovakian border. You can kind of see it in the little map on the presentation. The transition was not easy, and practically the definition of being out of my comfort zone. But learning to adapt and to a completely different culture really prepared me to work in environments where I'm not accustomed to, different cultures and different people. And I really didn't get an appreciation for that skill until I was in college. Anyways, I got married 2 years ago, and we actually went on our honeymoon to Poland because my husband has never been there, and he really wanted to learn where I was from and more about my background. So the picture you guys see in the middle is actually me hiking in the mountain range, 30-minute drive from my hometown. The road that led me to engineering was not very direct, to be honest. When I was younger, I really liked three things. I loved art and crafts first, ever since I was a very little girl. My mom still tells me stories about how I'd spend my afternoon cutting out things from my magazines and making dioramas about, red foxes or Greek mythology or ancient Rome, and drawing comics about a lizard who traveled around the world. So I was kind of a weird kid when I was little, but that really fueled my creativity. And I was, that was kind of the first thing that I gravitated towards. Then when I started school, math really sparked my interest. I really liked how a lot of math problems usually have one answer, but you can reach the answer in many different ways. So I was a part of Math League Club in high school. And my favorite part of the competitions was always the oral segment where you would explain your solutions in front of a panel of judges. Finally, I found a passion for physics when I was a junior in high school. So physics really connected math and art for me in a very unexpected way. So now I had pictures like free body diagrams and projectile paths, and I could now explain them with math. So that was very exciting for me. So the picture on the right is actually of me from 9 years ago when I was in high school at an art fair with one of my pictures.
Excellent. That's awesome. Thank you, Patricia. So that's really great that you sparked this interest early on. You learned that you liked math. You liked getting to that, there's only one solution. And then you liked marrying that with physics. That's a pretty interesting way to look at it. As me, I'm a biologist by trade. And so that's really interesting to hear that you kind of came to that conclusion and married those two. So after high school, then what path did you take?
I played around a little bit with the idea of becoming a book illustrator just because of all those hobbies that I had when I was a little kid. But I really couldn't see myself pursuing that career. The only university open house I actually went to was for Columbia University of Art in Chicago. After going to the open house, I realized art isn't really for me to pursue. So I decided that I wanted to do something with science. Unfortunately, I didn't want to pursue theoretical math or theoretical physics. And no one in my family was in a science career, so I didn't really know what options were out there for me. Because of that, I didn't really want to go to a four-year university right away. So instead, I attended local community college, Moraine Valley Community College. In 2 years, I got my associate's degree, and I met some really, really amazing people. I participated in science club, which really exposed me to different majors. And I met people who were at different stages of their education, which was really cool because I learned what paths they were planning on taking and where that could take me. So that's when I started to learn about engineering. In the end, my decision was more between industrial engineering, mechanical engineering, and obviously I chose the latter. And it was mostly because mechanical engineering seemed so broad, and you learned so many different concepts and could go into so many different fields that it really appealed to me to have a choice later on in life. So with that, I went to University of Illinois at Chicago, where I got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. One highlight of my career at UIC was my participation in the Chicago Engineering Design Team, which built robots for competitions, kind of like Battle of the Robots style, which was really fun. The gentleman in the middle of that group picture with the placards is actually my husband now. You have to pardon his mustache. We made him cut a different silly mustache every competition. And if I remember right, that year he actually dyed it pink at the end of the competition because we won first place. So participating in the club was a lot of fun, and it really solidified for me the idea that mechanical engineering will give me the opportunity of connect art, creativity, math, physics in skills that I will use every day. So the biggest takeaway for me studying mechanical engineering is the importance of hands-on experience and learning to work in teams. Those are the two big things I learned and two big things that I use in my day-to-day life practically every day. So you have to know how to find answers to topics that you may not have learned in class yet. So you talk to your peers, you talk to your teachers, you have to work in diverse teams, explaining your ideas to others. So yeah, that's kind of how I stumbled into being an engineer.
Awesome. Thank you. That's, I like the idea of having your husband do something funny with his mustache every time you guys won a different heat of that competition. That's
Yeah.
pretty funny. So you now work for Xylem. So can you tell us a little bit more about the company that you work for and what you do?
Yeah, so it's a little bit difficult to talk about the impact of my position without first talking about Xylem, the company I work for. I joined Xylem 3.5 years ago. Xylem can be called a water technology company. Now, what does that mean? That's very broad, right? We do a multitude of things within the water cycle, from moving water and wastewater using pumps to analysis of lakes and rivers. We treat wastewater that is being returned from homes to local water sources. We run robots into large pipes in cities to check for leaks. We do smart meters that track the usage in residential homes. So really anything that says water technology, we are kind of in that field. As you can see, we operate in about 360 locations in 40 countries, and the majority of our revenue is now from North America and Europe, with different technologies and specializations. So I'm probably just going to barely scratch the surface of what we do when I talk about what I actually do. So you guys can also see a short blurb in the infographic about the corporate citizenship program called Watermark. I'll talk more about that later on in the presentation. So yeah, but that's a little bit about Xylem.
Excellent. So do you want to go on and tell us a little bit more about what you're focusing on?
Sure. I joined Xylem when I graduated college, so I'm relatively fresh in my career, but I was fortunate enough to get hired into the exact position that I wanted, which was a mechanical design engineer in new product development. So Xylem, like a lot of other different companies, has what is called the new product development process. So the process outlines every single task that we need to do in order to get the product from rough brainstormed idea on a napkin, that type of stuff, to an actual product that a customer can pick up off the shelf and buy. So that means that some days I'm working on those brainstorming new ideas. Other days I'm actually doing the calculation to do the mechanical design. Our team is actually in the final stages of a project that I have been working on, which means that I'm now working with software engineers to have the product ready on the website, our manufacturing engineers to make sure the factory is ready for new parts coming in, and marketing to make sure that all the new marketing resources such as brochures and pictures are ready. So I really enjoy the work that I do because it's equal parts creative and science driven. So I work with dozens of people on a daily basis, and it's really fast paced and it's really new stuff every day. So I never really get bored. The new products that I develop are centrifugal pumps. So if you look at the picture on the bottom left, you can see a cross section of a pump. So when the impeller, which is the little part, the red part, spins, water comes in through the suction flange into the impeller eye, which is pointed out with a little arrow, and then it's pushed out the impeller vanes, which are the ends of the curved parts, and through the discharge valve using centrifugal force. So some of you may be familiar with the concept of centrifugal force already, but I included a picture to kind of illustrate the concept. So if you can imagine that experiment where you put water in a bucket and then you spin it really fast and the water doesn't fall out, that's basically centrifugal force.
Excellent. So you mentioned that Xylem is located in several places all over the world. So would you like to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. What's cool about the fact that Xylem is such a big company is that means that I not only work with a really diverse team of different functions within the building that I work at here in the Chicagoland area, but I also work with diverse teams from different countries. So I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of really talented engineers from India and China who are part of the Xylem company. And I actually got a chance to visit some of them face to face. So the two pictures on the right are from my visit to Shanghai, our office in Shanghai. and my office to Vadodara in India. I also had the opportunity to visit a Xylem office in Cambridge, which doesn't deal in the same technology that I do. So it was really cool to learn about the different technologies that different people within the company do that I might not have been aware of.
Awesome. All right, so this would be a great time for us to break for questions. So we're going to head over to our live interactive sites, but I do want to remind everybody out there watching the live feed on YouTube as well as STEMExplore.org that you can also submit questions and interact with Patricia, our mechanical engineer that we have featured here for STEMExplore today. Now you can use that chat simply on YouTube, and we do see some chats are coming through, so that is wonderful. Keep those coming. And if you're watching on STEMExplore.org, simply click submit questions on the top of that viewing window that you do see. So what we're going to do is first and foremost go to our live interactive sites at D.H. Conley High School. D.H. Conley High School is with our friends at Leva Sea Turtle. Now we're going to see if we can get Miss Keeter's class on the line to see if they have any questions for Patricia.
Any questions, you guys? I think you just put them on the spot and they got like gun shy.
Okay, that is no problem whatsoever. We'll start thinking about some questions you would want to ask a mechanical engineer. Patricia's story is pretty cool, coming from a different country and then moving to the States, but also finding a love of math and physics. So let's head on over to our other interactive site at D.H. Conley High School in Greenville, North Carolina. Ms. Wright, what questions does your group have for Patricia?
So one of my students asked, what do you think is the best way to conserve water, either possible or not possible at this point?
Oh, that's a great question.
So if we think about conserving water within our homes, of course, the best way to conserve water is through making sure that none of your pipes are leaky. There is actually a really easy way to check if your toilet is leaky. So if you look into your toilet and you see that there is actually moving water inside of your toilet bowl, that means that you have a leak within your toilet. So if you fix that, you can save around $400, a year in costs of wasted water that your toilet is basically leaking out. So it's just making sure that within your home, no leaky faucets, no leaky toilets, things like that. Of course, turning off the faucet when you brush your teeth, or even brush your teeth in the shower as you're showering. It's the little things that really, really add up to gallons and gallons of water if you really look into the numbers. I don't know if that answered your question. I don't know if you were more asking towards how we can personally conserve water, or in general, is there any new technologies to conserve water?
I think that was good. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. Ms. Wright's class, what other questions do you have for Patricia?
One of my other students asked, what are some of the water conservation policies that you have dealt with, and how do they enforce these?
So a little bit less on water conservation, but there is a new law coming out from the Department of Energy, the DOE, which is going to be enforcing specific efficiencies on some of the pumps that we manufacture and design. These standards dictate now how efficient our pumps have to be, which means the efficiency between the motor to the pump to get the performance that we want out of that pump. So that's the one that I personally dealt with a little bit. We're waiting for it to fully kind of hit the market, but we're already prepped for it as a company. So that's really cool that we're kind of ahead, trying to stay on track on all the regulations.
Awesome. That was a great question. Do we have another with Miss Wright's group?
Anybody else? I think that's it for right now.
Okay, sounds great. I'm going to go over to our friend in Tampa, Florida, Olivia Blondheim. She is a member of our Youth Leadership Council, and Olivia is an up-and-coming scientist. She's a grad student. So I want to see if Olivia has any questions for you as well, Patricia.
Absolutely. Thank you, Casey. So I had a quick question. So when you were kind of finding your path and even as you were transitioning into your new career, did you have any role models or mentors that really helped you as you were kind of finding your path into this career?
Great question. Thinking back, a lot of the teachers, I found that I found mentors in really unexpected places. So sometimes it wasn't a math teacher. Often it was a math teacher, but sometimes it was, I took an elective in creative writing, and that teacher really pushed me to think outside the box. Sometimes it was in my own peers. So it was someone, when I started as a freshman, maybe there was a senior who really showed me the ropes at a club and really showed me how to progress in my career, taught me things that I might have not learned from my teachers. So it was always looking for someone in unexpected places, and less for me being a mentor-mentee, and more we're kind of sort of peers, not on the same level, but I want to be where you are right now, so show me how to do it.
That's a really excellent point, Patricia, I think a lot of people think of mentors as somebody who's kind of in your line of sight or in the field that you're striving to go into. So like you said, sometimes it wasn't always a math instructor that was your mentor. But for me, I'm a marine biologist. That's my background. And growing up, one of my biggest mentors was an English professor. And just like you said, she definitely challenged me to think outside the box and think about things in different ways. But also, as you become an adult and as you go through college and get into your career, your peers definitely become your mentors. And I can definitely attest to that as well, that you're constantly growing professionally if you do look at your peers and you can challenge one another and kind of strive to do what they're doing as well and ask them for advice. That's really wonderful. Olivia, do you have another question for Patricia?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to also just kind of add on that, like I am always, as a grad student, like always learning from the other people in my lab and my colleagues. So it's like, you're always learning something new from someone. And sometimes it comes from places that you aren't always expecting. So yeah, I had one other question. So I know you talked a lot about how art really inspired you and then it kind of transformed into engineering. And what kind of advice would you give to yourself a few years back, to help you kind of make that path a little bit easier? Are there any like skills you'd really focus on developing that would really help you as an engineer later, or anything along those lines?
I think really paying close attention to the basics is something that I really overlooked. So, I would pick up the skill, and instead of developing the basics first, as far as I could, I would just jumpstart to the next level instead of really focusing on, maybe basics of design, basics of layout, basics of color, basic math principles, basic physics principles. If you don't really grasp that bottom level well, when you progress later, you're going to have holes. So I think if I went back and spoke with my younger self, I would say, hey, don't rush. You have your whole life to develop these skills. Stay where you're at, make sure you're comfortable, and then move on.
Excellent. Those were really great questions, everyone. Now, for those, again, watching on YouTube as well as the live stream on STEMExplore.org, you can still submit your questions because we're going to come back to another Q&A section. And our interactive sites at D.H. Conley High School, we will also come back to you as well. So excellent job. So Patricia, to kind of wrap things up about your career and your focus, can you tell us a little bit more about Xylem and maybe how Xylem strives to contribute to a sustainable future?
Yeah, I'm actually very lucky to work for a company that takes its position as a water technology market leader very, very seriously. So I'm sure all of you have learned about the water cycle in school. So you know that there's no new water. It's the same water just moving through the water cycle at all times. So we realize that we really need to take care of this finite resource. So I wanted to share some statistics with you related to water scarcity and water sanitation. As we as a company are actually trying to raise awareness about it very heavily. So when we design new products, we're fully cognizant of the scarcity of water as well as energy waste. So we make sure that our products operate to the highest standards of efficiency, like I mentioned. We use safe and sustainable materials. We also build our products to last. I've heard of some pumps in the field that have been out there for 30 years, just chugging water and, didn't even break until, after 30 years. That's amazing. And that really helps reduce waste. Xylem also helps cities prepare for anything that may strain the water infrastructure with solutions to prevent people not having access to clean water if any disaster were to strike. We also help with dewatering efforts during natural disasters. So we are working every day to figure out better, more efficient ways to solve the current and future water needs of the world. So I think that is very cool.
Excellent. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Xylem is doing wonderful work. Xylem does help us to promote some of our programming, and they sponsor some of our programming here at EarthEcho as well. So I think that's something important to note during this program, that Patricia has been a friend of EarthEcho International for years because Xylem has as well. So they help to sponsor our EarthEcho Water Challenge program, which we'll talk about in the wrap-up and how you can get involved with that. So let's check back in with our interactive sites for any more questions for Patricia. And to do this, I'd like to call on our Youth Leadership Council member, Olivia Blondheim in Tampa, Florida, to field any of those questions. So Olivia, take it away.
Okay, great. So first we're going to go to Miss Keeter's class. So do you guys have any questions for Patricia?
How about, what is the coolest thing that you've ever made?
She said, what is the coolest thing that you have ever designed or made?
The project that I'm currently working on is actually pretty cool, just because of the size of the product that I'm working on. So I'm designing pumps with impellers that are, 48 inches wide. So, 4-foot impellers, if you stand next to these products, it really puts it into perspective. Oh, on the screen, it's this tiny little pump, and then you get into it and it's the size of a room. So it's really cool to see these huge, huge things that I can make and that are going to move, hundreds of thousands of gallons of water every day. So I think, yeah, that's pretty much the coolest thing I've done.
Cool.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really neat. And I also think about that in perspective. Like, I'm like 5'1", so that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like how big these equipment, pieces of equipment are. Okay, so any other questions from Ms. Keeter's class?
One thing we were wondering is, historically, science and engineering classes or classes in college or careers have been dominated by men. Are you finding that there are more women, or are you finding that there are, other women in the fields that you are working in or that you studied?
It's a little unfortunate, but even when I was in college, I think it depends on major, but in mechanical engineering, I saw that really there wasn't enough girls in my classes. In bigger classes, around 200 students, there would be less than 10% women. Once you got to the smaller classes, 20, 30 people, then you would start seeing maybe 0.25% of the people in there would be women. So I don't think the issue so much is with women being in the field. It's much more with keeping girls interested in science and then helping them retain their positions once they're in their careers. So yeah, I really appreciate what we're doing here. Sparking interest in science and making sure that girls know what their options are, because I didn't know when I was your age what my options are. And I think that's one of the reasons why there really isn't as many perspectives of women in these fields, which is a shame, because companies are realizing that the more diverse your teams are, the better ideas are going to come out of this team. So there really is a push to, keep different people in these fields and not just stick to the same, maybe, looking people in these fields.
No, that's awesome. And I absolutely love your story behind that, because it is, I hopefully the face of STEM continues to change as we progress. But there is still such a push for that, so that we can continue to diversify the field, because, girls are just as powerful as, any man in the field. So we have just as good of ideas. So that's an awesome story. So these are all excellent questions. Does Ms. Keeter's class have any other questions?
Nope, I think we're good. We'll pass it on to somebody else and listen to their answers.
Okay, that sounds good. So now we're going to move over to Miss Wright's class. Do you guys have any questions for Patricia?
All right, so I have a student who's involved with repairing houses and doing construction type stuff, and he wants to know, like, exactly what the Xylem pumps a lot of times do in houses, like what they're exactly used for?
So we have different things that our pumps are used for. For residential applications, we have circulators that recirculate hot and cold water within your homes. For HVAC applications, so heating, ventilation, air conditioning applications, we have pumps that pump water to heat and cool buildings from large hotels. We actually have a really big installation at O'Hare. So all of O'Hare is actually cold and heated using our pumps. Don't complain to me if you're hot or cold in there. That's system design, that's not pump design. So I always put that little caveat in there, but we do that. We also move sewage water within systems, so utilities, so that type of thing. There's, if there's water moving, it's probably one of ours.
Great question. Okay, does anybody else from Ms. Wright's class have any more questions?
Yeah, we wanted to know what kind of classes or courses you can take, either community college or university, to get involved in a career in engineering.
Yeah, great question. I actually found that when I was going to UIC, I actually took some night classes at Moraine Valley. I went back and took some classes in CAD design, so computer-aided design, learning how to do technical drawings, those type of classes. I know a lot of high schools now are doing that kind of stuff, especially now with 3D printing being so popular. There's a lot more of a push to teach students about more of those computer-generated 3D file types. So that's some of the things you can do. Looking into community colleges, seeing kind of what classes they have. If you want to learn any of the other trade skills like welding, that type of stuff, that could also help because that teaches you later on in your career how to properly mark a weld on a drawing and know that when it gets to a manufacturer, he's going to do exactly what you want them to do because you have made that weld before. So any type of hands-on skills are always great.
That's great. And, that's such an awesome point about like taking classes, that you may not necessarily think you need at the moment, but can later help you down the line. Okay. Any other questions from Ms. Wright's class?
No, we actually just got dismissed, so.
Okay. So I'm going to jump back to Ms. Keeter's class. Does Ms. Keeter's class have any questions that came up? Oh, okay.
Same thing. We just got dismissed. They're all going to the buses and things. I'm so sorry.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So I actually have one more question for you. So I know you kind of talked about like, that whole process of, creating these massive machines that, that you were part of building. Are there any other like big accomplishments that, really stand out in your mind that have, either just like from the beginning of your career, like either in college or later down, like that just really stand out in your mind as like something that you really feel proud about that you accomplished?
Yeah, so actually, if I go back to the engineering design team that I was a part of in college, the robot that we designed, I helped design the head of the mechanism that would pick up cones to score points. And our robot actually scored 4 times the amount of points that the second place did, which was really astounding. We really did not think we could do it that well. And I actually designed the linkage system before I even took a linkage class. So I learned it kind of flying by the seat of my pants. So I felt really accomplished that I could do something like this, teach myself and have that skill before I even went to the class.
That's awesome. Also, just as a reminder that we are taking any questions over chat. So, if you have any questions for Patricia right now, you can still send them in. I'm also going to pass it over to Casey to see if she has any questions right now.
Sounds great. We do have a couple of questions coming in from the live stream. And one of them is it hard being a female engineer?
It's different. It's not hard. It's different. That's kind of the mindset you have to come at it with. I think it's harder for me to be a young engineer than it is for me to be a female engineer, to be honest. It's a lot harder to get the respect of my peers due to my age, not my gender. So I don't think it's that difficult to be a female engineer. No, now, especially now, since a lot of different project teams want all those different opinions. We actually have people coming into meetings, design meetings, from different functions that know nothing about what we're working on, just to see what they think, get a fresh set of eyes on the project. So.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's always great to have diversity and to even go outside of your team to get a fresh set of eyes, fresh set of brains, to see if they have any other innovative ideas as well. Now, we do have another question that is coming in from the live YouTube chat, and that question is, what is one of your greatest accomplishments as an engineer?
Honestly, I don't think I got there yet. I think I'm still waiting for that. Wow, that was amazing, and I want to strive to do that every single time. So I don't have an answer for that yet. I'm waiting on that moment.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Knowing that it's out there, I think that's something that's really, really wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much, Patricia, for agreeing to be our STEMExplore mentor that we are featuring today. Really wonderful talk. Your background is so amazing, and it's really inspirational to see where you were inspired. That I hope those that are tuning in will find a path that they can feel that works for them and that they enjoy doing in the future. So thank you so much for joining us, Patricia.
Thank you so much for leading.
Absolutely. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and a big thank you, obviously, to our interactive partner sites out there, especially those tuning in from our friends at Love a Sea Turtle in Greenville, North Carolina, the 2 classes from D.H. Conley High School. It's always a pleasure to have you all. Now, of course, I do want to give another huge shout out and a huge thank you to Olivia Blondheim, our Youth Leadership Council member, who is helping us to co-host today.
Thanks so much for having me, Casey. And it was such a pleasure to get to meet you, Patricia, and hear more about your story. You're such, as somebody still going into a science field, you're very inspirational.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Now, EarthEcho does have some exciting opportunities coming up. One of them is a mini grant contest. Exposition Water by Design explores the issues of water scarcity and drought through free, innovative resources. Now, you can enter with your class to win a $500 mini grant by submitting your stories of students exploring engineering design around water resource management, or developing their own water conservation or restoration projects. Simply visit earthecho.org for more information. You can see here that you have plenty of time to submit. The deadline is World Water Day, and then we will announce the winners on Earth Day. Now, believe it or not, you can also monitor the quality of water in your community with the EarthEcho Water Challenge. Now, as we mentioned, Xylem, who Patricia works with, actually helps to sponsor this program. They are the major sponsor for the Water Challenge program. Now, you can actually visit monitorwater.org. You can order your own water quality testing kit so you can see what the water quality is like in your community. And right there on monitorwater.org, you can even submit your data and you can find out more information. So really huge citizen science component that we have here at EarthEcho, and that we work very closely with our friends at Xylem, and we're proud to have them. So coming in early 2019 is EarthEcho's newest expedition, Plastic Seas. We're so excited to launch this program. Stay tuned to earthecho.org as we unveil free videos, lesson plans, and activities to educate students about plastic pollution in the ocean, as well as innovative strategies to solve this global issue. So stay tuned and check out Plastic Seas in early 2019. Be sure to tune in to our upcoming virtual field trips. Now, tonight, STEMExplore will continue to bring relatable voices in STEM career with an encore presentation from Patricia. We're so excited to have her back, joining us at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Then tomorrow, December 6th, we will be joined by Marissa Wyrick, an engineer that hails from Texas. And Marissa will also do 2 back-to-back presentations, one at 3:00 p.m. Eastern and another at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Last but not least, we are very excited to announce that due to popular demand from the STEMExplore series, we will have an open Q&A session with many of the STEMExplore mentors that we have featured this fall, this coming Saturday. Now, Patricia is included in that lineup, so we're super excited to have 5 of our STEMExplore mentors back for an open Q&A session on Saturday, December 8th at 11 a.m. Eastern. So join us to speak with these amazing women in STEM careers. Now, you can visit our website to register for this special event. You can even submit questions ahead of time too if you click on that registration link. So for more information and to register for these upcoming exciting events and virtual field trips, visit STEMExplore.org. Simply click on the live events cabinet or the virtual field trips tab on the left. Again, you can follow EarthEcho and all of our exciting programs and adventures on our social media channels, as well as our websites. And thank you again to our wonderful STEMExplore mentor, Patricia Delcourt, and to our founding sponsor, United Technologies, for their tremendous support. So thank you all again so much for joining us. On behalf of EarthEcho International, thank you again. We are signing off, but you keep on exploring.